This is the all-new Skoda Superb in fastback, liftback, hatchback, just not combi form. You can call it whatever you like. And I'm going to start in the boot because once upon a time I started in the boot of the brand new Octavia, well, the latest gen, and that video is on the way to 400,000 views. So I changed things. Welcome to Nobby on Cars. Let me show you around what is a massively large 625 litre boot. It has all the usual Skoda stuff that you'd expect. Hooks for bags, 12-volt chargers for charging cooler boxes and whatever you like. There's even a QR code now to help you discover some of the bits that are in the car. I don't know if boots are that complicated, but they've started doing it anyway. This car has an optional bassinet that you can just put softer items or just for extra storage space in here. It's very easy to clip it out. There's a couple of levers for dropping the rear seats. Depending on certain packs, you'll get more of a flat load in than other versions of the Superb. Not a flexible parcel shelf, but it goes so deep, I don't know if that's really going to be an issue. Obviously, there's even shelter nearly from this boot lid because it's just so big. Some dividers on this side of the car with things like nets that you can use to tether other items down, and underneath you get a space saver wheel and a toolkit. All in all, a superbly, see what I did there, boot in the latest version of the car. And the tailgate is electrically operated with the latest Skoda lettering on the back and sweeping style indicators and a wiper all coming on the car. Relax, no need to worry on some of the Simply Clever stuff either. These things remain intact, like the eye scraper, which is now a kind of grey material because it's more sustainable plastic. And some people have already asked me on social media, do you still get an umbrella? Well, the answer to that question, my friends, would be yes, which is also now this grey sustainable material. But handy to have, but only on the driver's side. Am I right in thinking once upon a time there was one on the passenger as well in the Superb? Correct me if I'm wrong. There's 3 different trim options at the moment up to L and K. This is 1 grade below in this, so it's Signature Plus. There is a Sportline version coming, but it won't be here until January, February 2025. We don't have prices on it just yet. The difference in efficiency and aerodynamics versus the combi version is actually quite stark because you've got 0.23 drag coefficient on the front of the fastback version of the car. It's 0.26 from memory on the combi. None of that crystalline fancy face stuff or anything like that. It's just a fairly straight up front grille. Matrix headlights that again are part of a pack on this car, and if you do a lot of night driving in poorly lit roads, these are just brilliant. Starting price on the Superb now is 48,325 plus delivery charges. That's for the Signature trim, which is the bottom tier, still well spec'd, in the 1.5 mild hybrid petrol engine, which is possibly a little bit underpowered and a little bit less torque than the diesel version, which this is. So you might want to consider a couple of things. For example, 1 in 4 diesel cars sold in Ireland as I film in August 2024 is a Skoda. So you get the idea, they are still catering for the diesel market. There's this 150 brake horsepower and there's the 190 brake horsepower version. You can get that in 4x4. The Sportline in the 2 litre, 265 brake horsepower petrol version is the one that former RS or petrol heads will want. Sadly, that version is not coming to Ireland in any trim form because the emissions push the entry-level trim of that car to €70,000. And Skoda Ireland feel people are not going to pay that money for a Superb. Let's have a look at the front of the car then. For driver and passenger, you'll get massaging seats in this version of the car, controlled by just a switch down on the side. And the passenger seat gets all the electric gadgets that the driver's seat get, and that's not always the case. The typical current Skoda steering wheel is present. I would like maybe if that was a bit different to some of the cheaper versions in the lineup. You have this 13+ inch screen, which is huge. It has Laura, the Skoda assistant, who probably... No, okay, good. Kick into action, I was going to say. This car has a styling and multimedia pack at just over €1,800, which includes a head-up display, which even has a snow mode, so the graphics is blue instead of white. You have radar, cruise control, blind spot, all the cameras you'd need, frontal collision, rear cross traffic monitoring. It will do travel assist, so it'll change speeds depending on what road signs it can read if you're in cruise mode. The gear selector is now over here, and the ambient lighting gives you a nice feeling inside the car. Overall, they've pretty much maintained the quality of the 3 previous gen Superbs, if not bettered it obviously in some capacity. I actually saw first gen on the road yesterday. And it still looks great. It was in silver like this car. This is pebble silver. And I actually wanted to stop and pull over and ask the guy driving, you know, what the car is like all these years on. But it still looked really smart. Under here you have the armrest, complete with the cleaner for getting rid of the smudges on the massive screen. Now, when I was at the launch of this car in Prague in a studio before anyone had seen the car, there was fluid in this. So they obviously decided, no, let's save some money. Also, there's things like holders for your glasses, if you have driving glasses, and other gadgets can fit under here. There's one charging plate. It's reasonably fast. You're always better plugging in with a cable. There is some cooling on the plate now in Skoda, such as the Kodiaq and this car, but your device still gets quite warm. I'm getting used to these physical switches that you can set up and use for different things, whether it's the climate control, the air-cooled seats, which are in this car, and they've made life pretty easy this week for me because it's been 25 degrees some of the days that I've been driving, so they make life pretty good. Combine that with the massage seats, and you know, it's a pretty nice place to be. You do obviously get CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can toggle in between them. Plenty of safety assist in the car. You don't have to go through the screen to touch it off. You hit the driver assist button here once and you toggle down and hit select. So there's 2 switches to turn off those annoying EU reg beeps for the speed. The car park ticket tag is still here. There's a USB-C port for a dash cam up here, and they've just squeezed a lot of cleverness into the car. The cognac colour, which is the brown colour, I think looks really well because it is a little bit dark and perhaps a little bit dreary with everything being so black. And the panoramic glass roof is not on this car. You can option it on the combi version. As far as I can tell, you can't spec it on this version of the car. Just over 4.2 meters long and just over 2.8 meters in the wheelbase. So there's still an abundance of rear leg room for passengers in the back, and the Superb has always been limousine-like in that sense, and I'm pleased to say that it still is. Now, there's a significant hump in the floor, which is a little bit annoying in this day and age, but transmission tunnel, what can you do? But as you can see, the knee space is very generous. Head height is at least 3 inches or so there. Plenty of space. Your own climate control, 2 ports. Armrest has the device holder going on here, and there's access to the boot of the car as well, just by doing that. Now, as you may have seen in my combi video in Portugal, there's different packs that you can get that even have a blanket attached to the other side of the bench, and you can flip that over and get very comfortable. I love it. Some people have said, yeah, I have a 3rd gen Superb and I can put a blanket in the boot as well. It's true, but there are just some nice different packs that you can select on the car, but not always standard. I need to say that because Skoda get very annoyed when I make things seem like they're all coming as part of a pack and it's all in the car, and then there's like, where's mine? But yeah, vast space still going on in the back of the car. good door bins all round, and the testament to how much legroom is in the back of this car, I usually have to wipe the back of these seats before I film because my kids have destroyed them with their feet. They haven't touched the backs of these seats. That's how much legroom is in the back of the Superb. As I mentioned, this is the 150 brake horsepower version of the car in diesel. There's enough torque for a big car, but if you have it full of passengers and the boot stuffed with all your 625 litres, and you do a lot of motorway driving, you need to overtake a little bit, I think the 190 brake horsepower is probably worth considering. The PHEV version is just over 27 kilowatt hours. Should be good for a range of about 100 kilometers. It will do 50 kilowatt DC charging, 11 kilowatt AC charging. Good options there. And this car doing about 5.8 to 6 litres per 100 kilometers. I saw someone else testing the 2 litre 265 brake horsepower version, if you can get that in wherever you're watching this, and that was still doing less than 7 litres per 100 kilometers, which is really impressive actually. Something definitely worth ticking on the options list is DCC, dynamic chassis control. They now have a 2-valve system on the car. You can also get it in the Passat, and essentially gives you the best of both worlds. But the ride quality is so much better in the car with it. I've now driven both versions, with and without, and there is a significant difference. So again, if you do a lot of driving, it's just much more comfortable. Blind spot, rear cross traffic monitoring. It even has a kind of a crossroads safety thing where it knows if cars are approaching from the left and right on the front of the vehicle. You've got the reversing camera, radar cruise. There's a lot of safety stuff, front collision avoidance. It's aware of things. So from a safety point of view, again, it's coming very well spec'd, and you should be happy enough with all the gadgets that are available to you. It's a 6-speed in the plug-in hybrid, 7-speed in all other versions. There's no manual gearbox at all available now. If you're looking for something that's really exciting though, the Skoda Superb is not that car. What it does extremely well is fit everyone in it, get you there in comfort, and you'll never want for anything else. I mean, I hope no one's playing any shop games because it's not appropriate when we're driving, but I do have to say at least once in this video, it is all the car that you'll ever need. It's really never been truer. Like, it's true for the Octavia as well, but this just has that extra mile, extra kilometer, just to go the extra distance in interior space. The back possibly looks a bit better. Looks very, very similar from the front. And Skoda just make cars for families. You can tell that so much thought has gone into this car in the sense of, how can we make this easy for people to live with? How can we make sure that there's no issues with trying to get bikes into the car and the dog and all that stuff, the mundane of life. But you only appreciate how much car companies can cater for all that when you've driven something like this and you see the shortcomings of other cars. It's also not another SUV. There's nothing wrong with the Skoda Kodiaq. I'll leave a link to watch my multiple reviews of the latest version of it. I will have the PHEV version of that on the channel pretty soon as well. But if it were me, I'd have the Superb over the Kodiaq, just because I prefer this style of car. It's just a personal preference. If you need a family car, I'd urge you to at least consider this, because you'll probably find with the huge boot and all the leg room, you don't need a crossover or an SUV as long as this is available. And now more than ever, the Superb kind of has the market sewn up. And here's why. I'm not saying this latest Superb is a replacement for an E-Class or an A6 or a 5 Series. But what I am saying is those cars have become a lot more expensive than they were a few years ago. Indeed, the Superb at 48 for the starting model has also become a lot more expensive than a few years ago. But you have to ask yourself, is there anything those cars that I've mentioned can do that this can't? And I think the thinking man or woman's place is now more than ever in the Superb. Also the fact that the Passat is not coming to Ireland at all, and the fact that the Passat is only coming in an estate version. So if you don't like estates, prefer the looks of this type of car, then it's quite a limited market now for this type of vehicle. And really, when Skoda are doing it so well, you've got to ask yourself why you'd bother looking at anything else. And I think that's a reasonable statement to make. Yes, it's not cheap, but it's still as good as it ever was. And for that reason, I just go straight and buy one if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.